You may be confused. Lego, why are you talking about this? This was already disproven by Pierre LeBrun and TSN the other day. Well, firstly, it's because I'm a day late. Secondly, because if there is anybody who has gone out there and invested any sort of emotion or thought into the Samuel Girard trade rumors to the Montreal Canadiens, then this video is kind of your answer key. So, what are we talking about here today? Firstly, we're talking about the Montreal Canadiens. Secondly, we're talking about Colorado Avalanche defenseman Samuel Girard and the entire trade rumor sphere that has evolved around him. Let's just get the bigger piece of news that we had out of the way from yesterday. This is what Pierre LeBrun said on The Athletic. There is an article in the description, but of course, because it's paid-for material, we're not going to be screenshotting that. Instead, we're going over on Spectre's Hockey of today. Pierre LeBrun reports that the Colorado Avalanche is not shopping Samuel Girard. Now, I actually had to reread this sentence a few times and think to myself, is it Colorado Avalanche isn't, or is it Colorado Avalanche aren't? Because normally, if you pluralize the team, the Vancouver Canucks aren't interested in shopping Elias Pettersson, but Colorado Avalanche is a singular noun. And then I thought about it and I was like, okay, well, if you replace Colorado Avalanche, which is a proper noun, with a regular noun like team, the team isn't interested in shopping Girard. I was like, okay, that's kind of why they went with the word isn't instead of aren't. They're not shopping Girard, or at least they're not interested in doing so. The 23-year-old defenseman is in the second season of an affordable AAV contract of $5 million. LeBrun speculates the Girard trade chatter was a result of the Jack Eichel trade talk over the past few months. He said the Avalanche did inquire about Eichel, but he doesn't believe talks got very far. Now, there is Pierre LeBrun shutting down the entire Samuel Girard trade sphere that we had been engulfed in the past few days. So this video was just going to go over why everything went down and the entire speculation that arose with the Montreal Canadiens too. So this entire Girard thing, as explained by Spectre in Spectre's notes, was pretty much originated with the Denver Post's Mike Chambers, who speculated the blue liner could become expendable with the young Bowen Byram stepping up as a top guy. Now, this was indeed a video topic we had a few weeks ago, where we talked about how good Bowen Byram was, how we talked about how, okay, this is a pretty good decor, they're getting Cale Makar back, they're getting their guys back from off the IR, and when that happens, with Byram being a top guy, Samuel Girard is now at the bottom of your lineup, and do you really want to go out there spending $5 million a season on a guy who's playing third pair? It's not that Girard is bad, it's just circumstantially could you use that money elsewhere in your lineup and improve that way. So that was the entire idea we had a few weeks ago, and with LeBrun going out there and saying that he doesn't really think that it's a big enough incentive for the Avs to go out there and shop Girard, it provides a little bit more clarity on the situation. LeBrun doesn't rule out the possibility of Girard getting moved if the Avalanche received an offer too good to refuse, but he said the club is not interested in moving Girard. Now, why exactly are we talking about this 23-year-old, $5 million AAV for 7-year left-handed defenseman and the Montreal Canadiens? Well, because of a few things. Firstly, this was actually a topic that I had stored in my notes like a week and a half ago, right when the Girard talk started. It was one of those things that I kind of had pop up on my Twitter feed a lot from Montreal Canadiens fans and people who are just kind of interested in seeing the Habs make a move. That, okay, this dynamically, offensively capable, mobile, left-handed defenseman is available on the market, or maybe not available on the market per se, but he had been dangled in trade talks maybe? Is he in the market because Bowen Byram's really good all of a sudden? He's from Quebec. We need to get this guy. And because I had seen that pop up more than once on Twitter, on Reddit, etc., I was like, okay, we got to talk about this. This is a topic that I do think can make for some good conversation fodder. It was made even more apparent when on TVA Sports, it was Jean-Charles Lajoie who suggested the Habs actually do that same thing. Here's the article on TVA Sports, the solution to the blue line for Marc Bergevin. If he wants to make a trade, the Habs GM Marc Bergevin should opt for a defender, said host Jean-Charles Lajoie. And then, if you scroll down in the article, it talks about here, the solution is called Samuel Girard, according to Philippe Boucher. Indeed, the Denver Post reported a few days ago that the Colorado Avalanche would seek to get rid of the Quebec defender. I would look towards Colorado. This is something that would greatly interest me if I were the GM of the Habs. and in 10 games he has obtained 9 points, including 1 goal. It's actually kind of great because Girard's point production took a big boost after we made the video talking about how his point production wasn't really all too high. So nice to see him getting back on the board, a point-per-game guy, even though he is technically third pairing, if you want to say that. So for the Montreal Canadiens, you could see why everybody in Montreal was kind of clamoring for this, right? It's on TVA Sports, all the media, all the fans are talking about Samuel Girard and how if he's on the trade block, the Habs should go after him. There are a number of factors that make for an attractive player profile for the Montreal Canadiens, and puck-moving, offensively capable left-handed defenseman is kind of at the top of that list. There isn't really anybody on this team. You take a look at the left-handed guys, even when everybody's healthy. You have Girard, you have Edvinsson, you have Romanov, who can be offensively creative sometimes, but you're really not expecting a lot out of this left side decor when it comes to bringing the puck up ice and putting up numbers. It's always been Weber, it's always been Petrie. Petrie's taken a back seat this year, and Weber is out. The replacements, David Savard is over here, but he's not really doing much, and I mean, Chris Weidman is only really useful on the power play, so the Montreal Canadiens don't really have that solidified number one, okay, this is your power play quarterback right now kind of guy. Jeff Petrie is de facto that player, but he isn't really that player, if you get what I mean. His power play quarterbacking skills this season have been subpar to say the least. Should Samuel Girard be copied and pasted onto this Canadiens team, all of a sudden there's an added layer of dynamism to your power play that didn't once exist. All of a sudden there's a puck-rushing, offensively gifted defenseman who can just walk a blue line like it's nobody's business. Kind of crazy to think that the Colorado Avalanche would have this kind of player on their third pair, but that's just kind of the team that Colorado is, and we shouldn't be surprised to see it anymore. We're seeing that Colorado team suit up against my Vancouver Canucks later today at 6 p.m. PST, so I'm ready to get my heart broken with despair and agony. But for the Montreal Canadiens, as Pierre LeBrun does indeed highlight, would probably have to give up a significant package in order for the Avs to actually think about departing with Girard. We had this discussion in the previous video, but maybe it was alright then because you were talking about Jack Eichel. Maybe it's okay to take Girard's name when the guy you're receiving is that guy. Do the Montreal Canadiens have anybody of that caliber that they'd be willing to part with? No. Not really, unless you're going out there saying, okay, let's trade Caulfield, which you're not going to do that. So, for Montreal, it doesn't really look like there are any options here for this team to actually make a trade for Samuel Girard that the Avalanche would actually consider, but I would love to hear your suggestions in the comment section below if there is indeed a package the Montreal Canadiens could put together that could somewhat match the return of a Jack Eichel that would make it worthwhile for the Colorado Avalanche to sit down and digest this trade offer. You gotta remember, man, you can't just go NHL 21 GM mode or franchise mode and just say, okay, we're adding on this prospect and that prospect and that prospect, and if you still say no, we'll add a second, and if you say no, we'll add a third, if you say no, we'll add a fourth, and you just add and add and add and add and add. You have to go out there and make an offer they're actually going to consider based off of the magnitude of assets that are coming the other way. Montreal doesn't really have anything, in my opinion, but of course you can go out there in the comments and try to change my mind. But either way, Colorado, it does not look like they're actually going to depart with Samuel Girard. This was just an idea that I saw that was very prevalent all over social media, so I thought I'd make a video addressing this entire thing. So if anybody who was confused about that, oh, Pierre LeBrun said no, but Habs fans on TV are saying it should happen. What's going on here? That's what's going on. It was only speculation. It was the Denver Post going out there talking about Girard in a trade scenario, which kind of sparked the entire hockey world into conversations about whether or not they should get this guy, because at the end of the day, Girard's a good hockey player. He's cheap, he's offensively capable, he is dynamic, and he is one of the many cogs on this Colorado blue line that makes them the team that they are. So, talk to me in the comments what do you think about Samuel Girard and the Montreal Canadiens. If you're a Habs fan, what is the most that you would be willing to give up in a trade to get this kind of guy? And furthermore, is your package enough for the Avalanche? Because you could say, oh, I don't like Samuel Girard. The most I'd be willing to give up is a second-round pick. But of course, the Avalanche would not accept that. Do you have a realistic trade offer that this Colorado team could actually think about? And if you do, please let me know in the comments what that is, because I'm very intrigued as to hearing your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video, Trolls 99, and bye.